everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Carol. In case we've never met, nice to meet you. Today's video is going to be one that I've wanted to make for a while, but I don't know why I haven't made it yet. But today's the day. Let's stop blabbering and talk about the video. Today we're doing the all about blush tag. It's basically a similar concept to the all about eyeshadows, which I think I did, haven't I? If I haven't, it won't be linked. If I have, it will be linked, so we'll see about that. But we talk about blushes in different kind of prompts. There's like newest, oldest, overrated, underrated, and stuff like that. So without any further ado, I think we can get started. I have all of the prompts right here, so let's just start, I think. My newest blush is from Pupa. I talked about this in the Super From Gems video. If you understand Arabic, it'll be linked above so you can watch it and enjoy the recommendations I have of products that are available in Israel. But this is the Pupa Extreme Blush Radiant, and I have the shade 10, and it's this beautiful like terracotta bronzy shade, which I think is a beautiful transition from fall to autumn, or fall. Wait, it's a beautiful transition from summer to fall or autumn. And I think that it's just such a beautiful blush. I've tried it, I think, 3 times already, and I loved it each time. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. I love Pupa blushes overall. This is stunning. Great. Next is my oldest, I think. And this was a bit difficult, I won't deny. I do believe that maybe... Wait, I changed my mind. I'm thinking that my oldest blush in my current collection is the Daniel Sandler watercolor fluid blush in the shade So Pretty. I still remember because this is really so pretty. It's like this beautiful pinky blush, and it's such a beautiful like flush from what? It's a beautiful like flush from within look, especially because it's pink. It gives you like this perfect look in the winter. Like it's so chilly and cold outside and you are just getting all rosy and your cheeks are flushing. It's just so pretty. It's the oldest, I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that it's the oldest and it's so pretty. I highly recommend it. If you're into cream or liquid blushes, these are so pretty, but just a fair warning, you need half a little dot. Like this is how the packaging comes. There's like this dropper right here, and you basically need like the tiniest amount, and you can apply it with your fingers, with a sponge, with a brush. I mean, like the options are endless. Just don't go like this. Don't do this because you are gonna regret it. It's guaranteed. You are about to regret this decision. Okay, next is most expensive. And I think my most expensive blush is my Marc Jacobs Lines and Last Nights Air Blush. This is how it looks. It's a beautiful blush, but it's unnecessarily expensive, and I think that at least 70% of the expenses went into marketing, and then 20% went into this beautiful packaging, and then 10% went into the formula. That's just what I think. But it's a beautiful blush nonetheless. I don't regret having it. I don't use it as much as I should, but it's an expensive blush that I think is really pretty, and I don't necessarily want to recommend because nobody needs to spend so much money on a blush, especially as you'll see we have so many amazing drugstore blushes. But if you feel like a splurge, these are really nice. I like the one that I have, and I think that the formula is pretty good too. Okay, so most expensive, that means that the next one is going to be the most affordable. And for the most affordable, we have the Satin Touch blushes from Essence? Is it Essence? Yes. I have 2 shades. I have the shade Satin Coral and Satin Bronze, and these are, maybe they're like 12 shekels, which is like $3.50, $4, something like that. They are so pretty. Like they are so pretty. You don't understand how gorgeous these things are these. I love them. I really like the formula, the longevity. They are glowy without emphasizing texture or creating texture necessarily. They are just insane, and for the price, I can't fathom why anyone with their right mind would spend, I don't know how much that costs when they can get something so inexpensive and so phenomenal. I just, honestly, why? Why are blushes so expensive when they can make stuff that is just like much cheaper and just as good? Why? Can someone explain? Cool. Next we have everyday blush, and this is a bit difficult. Okay, so there's one that says everyday and then there's one that's like the most used. And this is where it gets a bit difficult because my everyday blush is the one that I essentially use the most often. So I'm just going to give you a blush recommendation that I think works beautifully for every day, but may not necessarily be my most used. And this is a difficult question, I have to admit, but if I had to choose like a beautiful everyday blush, I think that the Glossier Dusk Cloud Paint, the Glossier Cloud Paint in the shade Dusk would make a beautiful everyday blush. Is it my most used? No. Not because I don't like the formula or I don't like how it looks or I don't like the shade. I think it's beautiful and it's such a beautiful everyday product. But sometimes I just want something like that I can just like swipe my brush over it and just like apply it on my cheeks and head out. So sometimes like squeezing the tube and all of that is a bit too much of a faff, so to say. So I skip using this most often, especially when I'm wearing like a full face of makeup. And when that happens, I don't necessarily reach a ton for products like these, but when I'm not wearing any foundation, this is so perfect. So perfect, absolutely. Okay, next is everyday most colorful, and this was kind of confusing because like what is it that they mean? Do they mean like a blush palette that has a lot of colors? Do they mean like the most pigmented? Do they mean like the brightest? And the way that I interpreted it is one that has a lot more colors in it than most blushes, and it's my Pupa blush, and this is the Luminous Baked All Over Illuminating Powder Blush, and I have the shade 6. I used to have 2 more of these. They were so beautiful, but I broke one and I decided that I wanted to downsize. I'm looking at my collection and it doesn't look downsized, but whatever. Look at it, it's just very colorful. It has a lot of peaches, gold, a bronzy shade here. It's really nice and it's very luminous, and I love luminous blushes overall. It's beautiful and it's the most colorful one in my collection because it's full of colors. Cool. Next one, everyday most colorful best memory, and I don't necessarily understand what they mean by that. So I think for best memory, I am going to... Oh, this is a difficult one because like, what is it about the blush that would be so like nostalgic? I think for best memory, I'm going to choose my Yana Proby's blushes overall because I got them I think in November, and these are the blushes that I took with me when I traveled to Europe last year, simply because these blushes remind me of the time I was in Europe last year, and considering the fact that basically almost nobody has traveled this year. Travel is a very nostalgic thing at the moment, and it's a great memory for sure, worth the hype. So a blush that gets a lot of hype, and I agree. I do think it's worth the hype, and that is very, very easy because everybody really hypes these up, and they're the Luminoso Milani thingy. So Milani blushes overall, but especially Luminoso. This is just, everybody loves this, and I agree with everybody. This is a beautiful blush in terms of shade, in terms of finish, in terms of formula, in terms of longevity. I don't have a single con to say other than this packaging being the ugliest and bulkiest packaging ever. I hate packagings like this. This is just the most stupid thing in the world, if you ask me. Nobody needs those ugly ass, harsh, unusable blushes or like brushes that come in your blushes. Nobody uses them, trust me. So you can stop with the unnecessary bulk. Cool. Worth the hype. Maybe the next one is not worth the hype, and I have quite a few answers for this, and I have to like maybe pick one. Not worth the hype. Okay, so it's the blush I'm wearing today, and it's pretty. But I don't know, I just don't find these blushes to be that perfect, and they're the ambient lighting blush from Hourglass. Like, they're a nice blush, but they're kind of powdery and dry to the feel, and they're not my favorites. I find that the formula is just average. Like, it's a good formula, but it's nothing that I would be like dying to use again. I have this blush. I've paid a lot of money for it because these are expensive, but I don't think that it was the wisest decision. It wasn't the best money spent for a blush. There are many other expensive blushes that I think are way more worthy of the, like, I wouldn't say worthy of the price tag, but maybe they're more luxurious than this. That's what I have to say on that. Favorite from a favorite brand. So I already expressed my love for Pupa, and this is probably like my favorite blush brand. Is it? I think so. And I think my favorite blush from Pupa is a blush that I broke, and I didn't even want to have to throw away, so I fixed it, which almost never happens. Like, if something breaks and it's not so important to me, I will get rid of it. But this is a blush that I couldn't comprehend having a blush collection without it. This is the Like a Doll Luminous Blush in shade 106. It is discontinued, they no longer make it. And I really don't know why. I just wish that they would have repackaged the same formula in the same color, because it's so pretty. It's like the same like concept as my Daniel Sandler's. It's like this pinky, flushy look that looks like it's snowy outside and you're kind of cold. It's just so pretty. I love pink blushes. I know that sometimes they look scary, but all you need is the tiniest amount of it, like the tiniest amount, and it looks so beautiful and fresh and youthful on the skin. It's really, really pretty. Really pretty. Most used is my Yana Provi's Sunkissed Glow. This is a limited edition that no longer exists, but it's genuinely like my most used blush. I mean, the color looks boring, and I think this is probably why it's my most used, because boring blushes tend to be the best looking blushes on the skin. So this is it. I love it, and I love this formula. Like, it's not shimmery like her Satin Peachy Glow. This is a different formula altogether. This is much softer, and if Peachy Glow was in the same formula, I would have loved it a lot more. I'm just saying that. I'm just putting that out there. If Peachy Glow was in the same formula, I would have said go and jump on the Yana Provi's blushes, but since Peachy Glow is like a bit of an odd one, if you ask me, in terms of texture, and also it's like very not pigmented, that's probably why. Cool. Most used, most underrated. Okay, so I could have said a lot of things here, because a lot of Israeli brands, or brands that are available in Israel that aren't available in the States, don't get hype at all because nobody knows about them. So I could have said Yana Provi's, and I've talked about Yana Provi's a lot on my channel recently. so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about Jade. This is the Jade Velveteen Contour Blush. I have the shade Natural Instinct 126. So if you look at this, it's like on one side it's matte, on the other side it's shimmery, and I think this was even released before Cover FX did theirs. So I think Jade was onto something when they created this. It's beautiful. The formula is lovely. The packaging is magnetic and it's like quite sleek and unique in terms of packaging. I mean, it does get dirty. I don't know if I can clean it. No, I don't think that you can clean it once it's dirty. It's not very noticeable, I don't think, especially now that it's damp. Maybe now you can see that there is a little bit of dirt on it, but I don't really mind it. I love this blush. And I love the shade and I love the formula. I love it. Basically, you get, when you buy a blush like that, you basically get 3 in 1. You can use the matte, you can use the shimmery, or you can combine. And it's really, really easy to use. It's so pretty. And the formula is lovely. Unfortunately, Jade is not very known globally, and I think that that's a shame because they have such great products. I have quite a few videos on Jade as well. I'll be linking a few right about now in the cards above me. Okay, most underrated, most nostalgic. What does that mean? Like a blush that I miss using, or a blush that reminds me of something? Because if a blush is nostalgic, then it's a good memory. Okay, so let's see. Maybe I would say that my most nostalgic blush is... I'm looking at my blush collection now, and I'm trying to think of something, but I genuinely can't. Most nostalgic. I would say maybe the Tarte Amazonian Clay blushes I used to have exposed. I gave it to someone and I kept the shade Risque. I wouldn't say that these are the best blushes out there. I do find them to be a bit dry and not so smooth to use, and you have to think of like what blush you're using or what brush you're using with them. But these remind me of a time where I was a lot more excited about YouTube, where like beauty channels were more about beauty than about a lot of other things that they seem to be about at the moment, at least. So yeah, like these blushes bring me to a good YouTube time, a much better YouTube time than it is now. And this is ultimately one of the reasons why I don't think I can ever be consistent again on YouTube, because I'm not as enamored with it as I used to be. Most disappointing. Okay, for most disappointing, I usually don't keep blushes in my collection that disappoint me. But maybe we can talk about the Melt Cosmetics blush. I have the shade Cali Dream, and it's not like a horrible formula or anything that I wouldn't want to keep in my collection because it's so bad. It's simply that when I bought this, I was so in love with Melt. I had the majority of the stacks at the time, and I was really digging Melt, and I was expecting this to be better. It's just like this powdery, matte, dry blush that I don't really ever reach for because I just don't love using it. I really don't. So it's a beautiful color, don't get me wrong, and it looks okay on the skin, but for how in love I was with Melt, it was like one of the things that really disappointed me when it comes to my infatuation with Melt at the time. So that's probably my biggest disappointment in terms of the blushes that I currently have in my collection. So this is the blush tag. I really enjoyed filming it because I like talking about blushes. As you can see, I really have a special place in my heart for blushes, and that sounds weird, and that's okay. You know, this is a beauty channel after all. Yeah, thank you so much for those who watched, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd love to hear your answers in the description box underneath. Or if you make videos, I would love for you to inform me that you filmed one so that I can go watch it and maybe we can become YouTube friends. Who knows? Thank you so much for watching again, and I hope to see you in the next one. Subscribe, like, and leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.